Hello friends, I am Dr. Maninder Singh from Department of Computer Science, Punjabi University, Patiala. Today's lecture is on digital certificates. In this lecture, we are going to discuss what the digital certificates are, how digital certificates are created, and in the end, we will talk about different types of digital certificates. Let's start. In the modern computer world, a large amount of attention is aimed at security. Firewalls, utilities, antivirus programs, computer professionals design all these softwares in order to protect personal computers, mobile phones or other digital devices. On the other hand, how to protect a web page, how to prove that a particular website can be trustworthy, reliable or authentic. Where is a guarantee that intruders do not try to steal users' private information like bank information, credit card information, passwords, etc. through fake sites that look the same as an actual one. Furthermore, online shopping is very popular today, but very few users are aware about security of the transactions made. Time flies and every second counts. About this property by everybody tries to save time and pay no attention to slight changes on the usual web pages to be confident that a web page is secure and belongs to the safe source. HTTPS protocol, SSL connection and digital certificates are used. A digital certificate is a multipurpose document developed primarily for used over the internet. It is used either for identification or for encryption purposes. Let us look at these two primary purposes of digital certificates. For identification, digital certificates are used to verify the sender of some information, verify the server you are connected to and even verify the users that are connecting to the server. For encryption, digital certificates include the user's public key, which can be used for example to encrypt an email message or document that can be sent over the internet. Digital certificates also play an important role in secure web transactions. Now, let us look how such transactions works. Suppose you are at home and connected to your bank over the internet to check your account balance, and you start by using your web browser, maybe Internet Explorer, to connect to your bank's secure site. Then Internet Explorer will show a logged icon in the security status bar. Different browsers will use different methods to indicate the presence of a secure site. The web address must start with HTTPS. At this point, the digital certificate is sent from the web server at your bank to your browser. When the browser receives the certificate, it checks the certificate stored in your browser settings. If the bank certificate is trusted, the transaction is allowed to continue. If this is the first time you have connected to the site, then a copy of the bank certificate is stored in your browser certificate cache for future use and to improve connection times. To verify your identity with the bank, you will need to answer a few questions and use your password to log into the account. In the background, a secure session has been built between your computer and the bank's computer. Your web browser creates a unique one-time session key. Your browser uses the bank's public key on its digital certificate to encrypt the session key so that only your bank's web server can read the transactions you send from your computer. This allows you to complete the transactions with confidence. This process happens anytime you connect to an HTTPS site. Digital certificates are an important component of a technology called public key infrastructure or PKI. Digital certificates are also described as virtual ID cards. There are numerous ways that digital certificates and ID cards actually are the same. Both ID cards and client digital certificates contain information about the client, such as client's name and information about the organization that issued the certificate or card to you. For example, universities usually issue ID cards only after ensuring or validating that you are a genuine student, faculty or staff member of the university. In terms of PKI, this process is called registration, that is verifying that you are entitled to receive a certificate and verifying the information present in it. A digital certificate is issued by a certificate authority (CA) and signed with the certificate authority's private key. A digital certificate normally contains owner's public key, owner's name, expiration date of the public key, name of the issuer, the certificate authority that issued the digital certificate, serial number of the digital certificate, and digital signature of the issuer. Next, we are going to see how digital certificates are created. While creating digital certificates, a unique cryptographic key pair is generated. One of these keys is mentioned as a public key and the other key as a private key. Then the certification authority, normally on your campus, creates a digital certificate by joining your and issuing organization's information along with the public key and digitally signing the entire thing. This is to a great extent similar to an organization's ID office filling out an ID card for you and then signing it in order to make it official. In PKI terms, the individual's public key is put into a digital document along with information about that individual, and then the digital document is signed by the organization's certification authority. This digitally signed document can be communicated to anybody and can be used to identify the subject of the certificate. However, the private key of the unique cryptographic key pair must be managed securely and never given to anybody else. As the private key is a very large prime number, it is not something a human being remembers. Preferably, the private key should be stored on some device such as a laptop computer, PDA, or USB key ring. If you send a copy of your certificate to another computer to authenticate yourself, what keeps someone with access to that computer from reusing it later to pretend to be you? Unlike an ID card, which is very valuable in itself, the digital certificate is of no use without the private key linked to it. That is why it is very important to protect the private key. The private key should never be given to anybody else nor left somewhere which is not under the control of owner. An additional importance of digital certificates is that they offer a higher level of security than what we presently possess with PIN and password combinations. However, users still use passwords, but only on their personal computers in order to protect their digital certificates. If someone misplaces the electronic device on which a digital certificate is stored, a person carrying the digital certificate would also require the password to unlock the certificate. Next, we are going to discuss some of the basics that you need to know for the certification process. The first thing is public key infrastructure. PKI is a hierarchical system composed of one or more specialized servers that generate and manage digital certificates. A PKI contains certification authorities, registration authorities, and management tools. Certification authorities (CAs) is the trusted authority that certifies individuals, identifies and creates electronic documents that verify individuals and organizations who they say they are. This electronic document is a digital certificate and it includes the public key for that individual computer at organization. A private key is paired with the public key. However, the private key is stored separately. The CA is a hierarchical system composed of software, hardware, procedures, policies, and administrators who validate requests and generate certificates. PKI can form different topologies of trust, including single root PKI topologies, hierarchical CA topologies, and cross certified CA topologies. In the single root PKI model, all the certificates to the end users are issued by a single CA. The topology of single root PKI is very simple and is only suitable for small environments, but it is very difficult to scale it up to a big computer environment. This model utilizes only one private key, and if the key gets stolen, the entire system fails. because in that case there is no reliable CA anymore. In a hierarchical topology, the root CA cannot only issue certificates to end users, but also to the other lower level CAs, which can further issue certificates to end users and other CAs. The major advantage of this type model is that the private key of the root CA is very rarely used, and by using this model, the system becomes more secure. If the private key of one subordinate CA gets stolen, then only corresponding branch ceases to be trusted. The only challenge is that the more CAs exist between the end user and the root CA, the more it becomes to determine the signing path. In the cross-certified CA model, multiple single root CAs set up a trust relationships horizontally by cross-certifying their own CA certificates. The registration authorities RA verify the user's request for digital certificates and tell the CA to issue it. The PKI may engage registration authorities RAs to accept requests for enrollment in the PKI. RA does the task of verifying user identity, establishing passwords for certificate management transactions, submitting enrollment requests along with appropriate organizational attributes or other information to the CA. On the other hand, RA is not permitted to issue digital certificates or publish certificate revocation lists CRLs. Management tools is a system that permits an administrator to check off which certificates were issued when a given certificate expires. In addition to the organizational rules, there must be related database or directory, normally using a lightweight directory access protocol LDAP, that will become a repository of information about certificate holders and their certificates. There must also be a method to make available information about revoked certificates. An application that uses the PKI's digital credentials may possibly check with the revocation database before depending on the validity of a certificate. It may wish to seek advice from the subject directory as well in order to get back further information about the certificate subject. PKI has the power to do the three main things, namely manage keys, public keys and use keys. In manage keys, a PKI make it easy to supply new keys, reviewing or cancelling existing keys, and managing the trust level connected to keys from different issues. In public keys, a PKI provide a system for clients to discover and fetch public keys and information concerning whether a particular key is valid or not. In use keys, a PKI provides an easy to use method for users to use keys, varying from shifting keys around where they are required up to providing simple applications that carry out public key cryptographic operations for protecting email, network traffic and other types of communications. Next, we are going to see different types of digital certificates. There are different types of digital certificates, each with diverse functions, and this can be confusing. They are broadly divided into 4 classes. First is class 0 certificate. This certificate is issued only for demonstration or test purposes. Second is class 1 certificate. These are used to verify an individual's identity, often used to exchange secure email messages with another user. Third is class 2 certificate. These are generally used by software companies to sign their software. It provides integrity for the users of that software. Fourth is class 3 certificate. These are used when an organization wants to set up their own CA hierarchy and issue their own certificates in-house. Now, each class has different requirements for proof identity when applying for digital certificates, with higher level classes requiring more proof of identification. Class 1 certificates often only require an email address, where class 3 requires extensive documentation. Now, let us look at the life cycle of the digital certificates, and this process includes registration, creation, suspension, revocation, expiration and renewal. The first step in the certification process is called issuing. There are a number of ways to issue or receive a certificate. The most basic method is for a user to create their own certificate. For example, if you have Microsoft Office installed on your computer, you can use a tool called Digital Certificate for DBA project to create your very own digital certificate. The most commonly used method of issuance is to use a trusted third party or a certificate authority to issue the certificate. Step 1 of the life cycle process is to apply for a certificate, and in order to do this, one has to register with the CA and follow the application procedure. Some of the valid identification is generally required. Remember, the amount of identification needed is going to depend upon the class of certificate that you are applying for. If the request is approved, it will be forwarded to the CA for issuance of digital certificate. During this stage, the certificate is created and issued to the user. Remember, the type of certificate requested and any existing security policies at the certificate authority will determine how the user's identity must be confirmed. If the request is approved, the CA then applies its appropriate signing key to the certificate, effectively signing the public key. The relevant fields are then updated by the CA, and the certificate is then forwarded to the registration authority, RA, or the requested user. Now, sometimes the CA may keep a local copy of the certificate it generated, including the private key. A certificate, once issued, may also be published to a public directory if needed. Next stage is certificate suspension can occur on and off throughout the life of any digital certificate. At this stage, the certificate's validity is temporarily suspended. Why would a certificate be suspended? One example of this might occur when an employee has gone on a leave of absence. During this time, it may be important that the user's digital certificate not be used by anyone else until they return. When the user returns, the suspension can either be withdrawn or the certificate can be revoked. Now, when the certificate is revoked, it is no longer valid. In some situations, a certificate may be revoked before its normal expiration date, such as when a user's private key is lost or compromised. Either the user or the CA is able to initiate a revocation process. When a digital certificate is revoked, the CA updates its internal records and any relevant certification revocation list CRLs with the required certificate information and timestamp. The CA signs the CRL and places it in a public repository where other applications using certificates can access it in order to determine the status of a certificate. The CRL here is a critical element that provides security and integrity to the public key infrastructure. As we have seen before, every certificate issued by a CA must have an expiration date. Once the certificate has expired, the certificate may not be used any longer for any type of authentication. Now, the user may be reminded by the issuing CA or RA of an upcoming expiration certificate. The user will be required to follow a renewal process. If the renewal process is successful, it will result in the user being issued a new certificate with a new expiration date. Generally, the renewal of a digital certificate does not require the generation of a new pair of public and private keys. If the user has not changed their permission requirements or private and public key information, this process can be a simple one. The CA only has to validate only that the person is who they claim to be and then generate a new certificate based on the current public key. The CA may add the current certificate to the CRL if the user renews the certificate prior to its expiration date. Now, certificate recovery is the process for restoring public and private key pair from a backup and regenerating a digital certificate using these keys. This should only be initiated when the private and public keys have not been corrupted or damaged in a way, but are still considered valid and trusted. After the keys have been recovered for a user, a new digital certificate can be generated by the original issuing CA with the original attributes included. The public and private keys of the CA should always be backed up and stored in a safe location for business continuity and recovery purposes. Next, we are going to discuss various certificate formats. A digital certificate can be either PGP certificates or X.509 certificates. In this lecture, we will only be discussing X.509 certificate format. Let us see what is a X.509 certificate format. X.509 is a very common certificate format. All X.509 certificate abide by the ITU-T X.509 international standard. Therefore, theoretically X.509 certificates designed for one application can be used by any other application following X.509 international standard. However, in practice, different organizations have produced their own extensions to X.509 certificates, not all of which work together. A certificate needs someone to validate that a public key and the name of the key's owner go together. With PGP certificates, anyone become a validator. With X.509 certificates, the validator must be always a certification authority or someone nominated by a CA. An X.509 certificate is a collection of a standard set of fields containing information about a user or device and their corresponding public key. The X.509 standard defines what information goes into the certificate and describes how to encode it, the data format. All X.509 certificates contains the X.509 version number, and this identifies which version the X.509 standard applies to this certificate, which affects that information can be specified in it. The most current version is 3. The certificate holder's public key. The public key of the certificate holder together with an algorithm identifier which specifies which crypto system the key belongs to and any associated key parameters. The serial number of the certificate. The entity, application or person that created the certificate is responsible for assigning it a unique serial number to distinguish it from other certificates it issues. This information is used in numerous ways. For example, when a certificate is revoked, its serial number is placed in a certificate revocation list or CRL. The certificate holder's unique identifier. This name is intended to be unique across the internet. A DN consists of multiple subsections and may look something like CN is equal to Bob Allen, OU is equal to Total Network Security Division, O is equal to Network Associates Incorporation, C is equal to US. These refer to the subject's common name, organizational unit, organization and country. The certificate's validity period. The certificate's start date time and expiration date time indicates when the certificate will expire. The unique name of the certificate issuer. The unique name of the entity that signed the certificate. This is normally a CA. Using the certificate implies trusting the entity that signed the certificate. Note that in some cases such as root or top level CA certificates, the issuer signs its own certificate. The digital signature of the issuer. The signature using the private key of the entity that issued the certificate. The signature algorithm identifier identifies the algorithm used by the CA to sign the certificate. To obtain an X.509 certificate, you must ask a CA to issue you a certificate. You provide your public key, prove that you possess the corresponding private key and some specific information about yourself. You then digitally sign the information and send the whole package, the certificate request, to the CA. The CA then performs some due diligence in verifying that the information you provided is correct, and if so, generates the certificate and returns it. You might think of an X.509 certificate as looking like a standard paper certificate, similar to one you might have received for completing a class in basic first aid, with a public key taped to it. It has your name and some information about you on it, plus the signature of the person who issued it to you. So, friends, this was all about digital certificates. Hope all the concepts are clear to you. Hope to see you in the next lecture. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.